Good morning, students. This is Lakshmi, Chebrolu Engineering College, Lecturer 7, Unit 1, Topic Coulomb's Law. In the previous class, we discussed about the vector properties, that means vector multiplication with scalar, vector multiplication with vector, that is dot product between vectors, and also cross product between two vectors. Their applications also discussed, and types of coordinate systems. There are three coordinate systems: Cartesian coordinate system, cylindrical coordinate system, spherical coordinate system. And also we discuss about the how to convert the Cartesian coordinate system into cylindrical system and vice versa, and how to convert the Cartesian coordinate system into spherical coordinate system and vice versa. So these topics we discuss. These are our very basic vector calculus. Without knowing these topic, we cannot solve any problems like to determine the electric field intensity in any shape of conductor, that means for a spherical or cylindrical, like that. So that's why first we know the basics, that means properties in a vector system, and also we discuss about the unit vector, position vector, length vector, that means the smallest length, that is a differential length vector, how we write the formula for differential volume in three types of coordinate system, and their surface areas formulas. These are all discussed in the last class. Now in this session we discuss about the Coulomb's law. Coulomb's law theorem was proposed by Charles Coulomb. Now what is the Coulomb's statement? In the entire paper, totally there are 5 laws: Coulomb's law, and next Gauss law, Biot-Savart's law, Ampere's circuit law, and Faraday's law. These are very important laws. So here in this chapter we discuss about the Coulomb's law. Coulomb's law is a state that force between any 2 point charges Q1 and Q2. Here there are two charges Q1 and Q2. So whether these charges may be same charge, that means like charges, or these charges are in unlike charges, there must be a force is developed between them. For example, if the two charges are like poles, like charges, then there is a force of repulsive is developed between them. That is also a repulsive force. In the same way, if the two charges are unlike charges, so in between these two charges an attractive force is developed. That means Coulomb's law states that if the point charges are like charges or unlike charges, there must be a force is developed, whether it is attractive or repulsive. So let us discuss how we developed the formula for Coulomb's law in general formula, and also Coulomb's law in vector formula. That will be discussed in this section. So this is two charges, and the line joining between the two charges, that is the distance between the two charges, is indicated by the letter capital R. Now the whatever the force between these two charges is always lying the line joining between the two charges. Therefore, the force F is always directly proportional to the product between the two charges, and it is inversely proportional to the square of the distance between the charges. So it may be expressed as, so both two conditions are written in a one equation, that is F proportional to Q1 Q2 by R square. Here Q1 Q2 is product of two charges and R is distance between the two charges. So this is a figure where the Coulombs done their experiment. So when you observe the inside the apparatus, there are two charges. So whenever there is a force of attraction or repulsion, it may be observed through this suspension head. Why? Because the Q2 charge is connected to a fiber. Whether Q2 moves towards the Q1 or away from the Q1, whatever it may be, that deflection is observed through a suspension head. Here there is a scale. So basing on that scale, what are the force of attraction or force of repulsive between the two charges is easily measured. So here there is a point is mentioned clearly. This force is mainly depends upon the charges and a distance between the two charges, and also where the point charges are placed. That means where the point charges are placed in the medium, in which medium. So the force is mainly depends upon charges and the distance between the charges, and also it depends upon the where the point charges are placed, that means the medium. So that's why to remove the proportionality, here Coulombs developed a proportionality constant. That will be next this side, that will be discussed in the next class. Here this is next slide. So whatever the proportionality that proportionality is removed by a proportionality constant K. And what is K? It is 1 by 4 pi epsilon. But here epsilon is equal to epsilon naught epsilon r. So in free space case, or it may be named as vacuum, here epsilon naught is permittivity of the free space, and epsilon r is dielectric constant, or it is also named as relative permittivity. So for a free space, this epsilon r value is always equal to 1. So this is a constant value, you have to remember. It will be useful for solving the problems in this chapter. And also epsilon naught value is also constant. Epsilon naught means permittivity of the free space. Its value is 8.854 into 10 power minus 12 farad per meter. So when you substitute these values in K formula is 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught. So that equal to 1 by 4 pi into epsilon naught value is 8.854 into 10 power minus 12, that equal to 9 into 10 power 9 meter per farad. So this is the final expression for Coulomb's law. This is the final expression for Coulomb's law, that is F equal to Q1 Q2 by 4 pi epsilon naught r square. Now how we calculate the units of epsilon naught? Okay, for example, now cross multiply the F and epsilon naught, then epsilon naught formula is Q1 Q2 by 4 pi F r square. Okay, so here Q1 is charge q1 q2 are the charges. Now the units of charges are coulomb. So coulomb into coulomb by force, that is F, units are newtons, r is the radius, so r square means generally it is meter, for r square it is meter square. Now units for epsilon naught is coulomb square by Newton meter square. Here you can write the separate 1 by m. Now coulomb square by Newton meter is a unit named as farad. So the unit of epsilon naught is farad per meter. That's why here epsilon naught is equal to 8.854 into 10 power minus 12 farad per meter. So this is the general form of Coulomb's law. F is equal to q1 q2 by 4 pi epsilon naught r square. Now this Coulomb's law expressed in vector form. So when you observe the Coulomb's law in vector form, F2 bar, so the above the bar represents it is a vector quantity. So the same formula had changed into vector form. Simply whenever you write vector form notation for the force, you write the unit vector. Okay, so that unit vector is always along the line joining between the two charges, that is distance between the two charges. So automatically that is the unit vector direction. So here A12 bar is the unit vector along R12 bar. So when you observe the diagram, here Q1 and Q2 are the two charges. Now due to impact of Q2 on Q1, there is a force developed, that is F1. Similarly, due to impact of Q1 on Q2, a force is developed on Q2, that is indicated by the letter F2. That means mutual effect of charges, there will be a forces are developed. That is the main concept. And they are represented by the letters F1 and F2. Then here, what is the relation between these two forces? Now, let us assume an origin O. Now it is at a distance R1 from the charge Q1 and R2 distance from charge Q2. Now these are the two vectors R1 and R2. The resultant of these two vectors is simply equal to R2 minus R1 or R1 minus R2. That depends upon the direction. So this R1 minus R2 value is equal to R bar 1 2. Now the vector form of Coulomb's law is F2 bar is equal to Q1 Q2 by 4 pi epsilon naught R square 1 2 A bar 1 2. Here A bar 1 2 is a unit vector along the direction or along the line joining between the Q1 and Q2. We have no unit vector is written as A bar 1 2 is written as R bar 1 2 by mod of R bar 1 2. So that is the definition of unit vector. We have already discussed in the first session. Again, this R12 is the resultant of these two vectors. That is clearly observed in the diagram. R2, R1 bar and R2 bar are the two vectors. Then what is the resultant of these two vectors means that is equal to R bar 1 2. So that's why just replace the R bar 1 2 by r2 minus r1. Then a bar 1 2 is equal to r2 minus r1 by mod of r2 minus r1. It's clear. So this is a unit vector from 1 to 2. In the same manner, you can also write the unit vector from a to 1. That means simply change the direction. So whenever you change the direction of a unit vector, the formula is also changed. So here f1, so here we find the value for f2, that is force f2 on q2 charge. So in the same manner, you have to find the formula for f1. For f1, formula is q1 q2 by 4 pi epsilon naught r square 2 1. The above formula you have to write r12, that is f2 formula. For f1, radius is r21. So that's why the unit vector is also changed to a bar 21. So corresponding value is also changed from r1 minus r2. Here a bar 12 is r2 minus r1. A bar 21 is r1 minus r2. That means simply unit vector is r opposite. So finally, due to opposite signs of unit vector, the force is also opposite. That means F1 is equal to minus of F2. So finally, what are the forces developed due to impact between two charges, that is F1 and F2? These two forces are equal, but they are in opposite direction. So it is clearly mentioned in the diagram. So this is F2 direction, this is F1. Both are equal in magnitude, but their direction is different, opposite. That indication is clearly proof from this equation also. F1 is equal to minus F2. Now next, so here the charges may be like charges, and that means they are positive charges, or the charges may be negative charge, that means like charges. So whenever the point charges are like charge, then there is a force of repulsive. So that is clearly explained in figures A and B. So the directions of F1 and F2 are opposite. That means they are away from the charges. When you observe the C and D diagrams, here the charges are unlike. That means there is a force of attraction. So that force of attraction is towards the charges. So here F1 and F2 are moved towards itself. So at the same time here also. That means whether the charges are like charges, there must be repel each other. While unlike charges, they are attract each other. So if it is necessary that the two charges are the point charges and it is stationary in nature, the 2 point charges may be positive or negative. Hence, their signs must be considered to calculate the force exerted. That is very important. That means these physical quantities are vectors. So their direction is a very important point. Basing on that direction, before the physical quantity we have to mention whether it is a positive or negative. So this vector form applicable not only for a unit positive charge, it will be applicable for n number of charges. If there are n charges are there, their force is also increases. Simply nF2 is equal to minus nF1. Here n is a number, that means it is a scalar quantity. That means this Coulomb's law is applicable for not only point charges. If there are more than one charge, so their charge number is increases, then automatically the force is also increases. If the charges are increases by n times, then force is also increases by n times. So in the simple manner, we have to calculate the force between any number of charges. So let will be discuss the Coulomb's law application to n number of charges. So here force due to n charges. So here we discuss about the force due to n charges. So there are 4 charges: charge Q, Q1, Q2, Q3. Now this is the origin. So here we draw origin to charge a line. So now a line R1, that is the distance between the charges origin and Q1, and the distance between origin to Q2 is R2 bar. The distance between origin to Q is R bar. And the distance between Q3 and origin is R3 bar. Now the unit vector along the line joining between Q and Q1 is indicated by the letter A bar 1Q, and also unit vector between Q and Q2 is indicated by the letter A bar 2Q. Similarly, the unit vector lying between line joining Q and Q3 is indicated by the letter A bar 3Q. Now here there are more than one charges. Now how we calculate the force on these charges? Now let us take Q and Q1 charges. Now we have to find the force between these two charges. So you just imagine, first you have to take the origin, that is at a distance R from the Q, and R1 distance from the Q1. So here force between these two charges is Q1 Q2 by 4 pi epsilon naught R square 1Q, and unit vector A bar 1Q. So A bar 1Q is measured with the help of these two vectors, that is R1 and R. So it is A bar 1Q is a vector which is resultant of R1 and R. So that's why A bar 1Q is written as R bar minus R1 by mod of R bar minus R1. And next we have to find the force between Q2 and Q1, Q. So that is represented by F bar Q2 Q. That is also equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q2 Q R square 2Q A bar 2Q. Here again A bar 2Q is a resultant of R bar and R2 bar. So that's why A bar 2Q is written as R bar minus R2 bar by mod of R bar minus R2 bar. In the same similar manner, the force between Q and Q3, that is equal to Q3 Q by 4 pi epsilon naught R square 3Q, A bar 3Q. Now how we find the A bar 3Q? That is with the help of these two vectors, that is R bar and R3 bar. The resultant of R bar and R3 bar gives the value of A bar 3Q. So A bar 3Q value is R bar minus R3 bar minus mod of R bar minus R bar 3. Hence, what about the total force acting on these charge Q? That means there is an impact due to Q1, due to Q2, due to Q3. So that will be find sum of all these forces. So what is the total force FQ? That is equal to F1Q, F2Q and F3Q. So here we also find the formulas for FQ1Q, F2Q, FQ3Q. By simply adding all these values, we can easily determine the force at Q. Here we have to take only example 3 charges. So what about the 3 charges? That is Q1, Q2, Q3 impact on Q. For example, if there are n number of charges are there, then what is the force acting on Q charge is? Simply we can write it as Q by 4 pi epsilon naught sigma I equal to 1 to n Qi R bar minus Ri bar by R square IQ mod R bar minus Ri bar. So this is the force formula due to n charges. So these steps are very useful to solve the problems. Let us discuss them. Whenever you have to find the force due to point charges, first know the position vectors of the points where the charges are located. So you first define the position vector of the charge, where that located. That is the first step. Now the second step is unit vector along straight line joining the charges. Why? Because whatever the physical quantity in general form is converted into vector form, that means in a vector notation, that will be multiplied with unit vector. That's why you know the unit vector value. So for this purpose, in the second step, first you find the unit vector along the straight line joining the charges. So that direction is towards the charges on which force exerted is to be calculated. That means this unit vector decides the force direction. Why? Because vector means it has a magnitude and direction. So the direction of the force is expressed in the terms of direction of unit vector. So that is the more importance of the unit vector. So then the second step, you have to take the unit vector along the straight line joining the charges. That will be used for direction of the force, whatever we calculated. Now by using Coulomb's law, by using expression of force in the vector form, by substituting this formula, we get the force value. For example, if there are more charges are there, you have to find the individual force values. The same, what are the steps are there, step 1, step 2, step 3. You find the individual forces. So by repeating these steps 1, 2, 3 for each charge exerting a force on the charge under consideration. Now, according to principle of superposition, by the vector sum of all the forces gives the resultant force value. So these are the steps we have to take to solve the problems by using Coulomb's law. So by using Coulomb's law, we have to easily find the electric field intensity, electric potential in a different cases, different charge distributions. So for that purpose, these are the steps you have to follow, that you can easily solve the problem. In the next session, we discuss about the electric field intensity and what are the electric field intensity in a different charge distributions, like that. So in this class, we have to clearly discuss about the what is the general form of Coulomb's law and Coulomb's law in a vector form, and Coulomb's law how we force a variable between point to point. That means the force changes depending upon the charges, their charge, whether it is positive or negative. And also we discuss about the force developed due to n charges. In the last, finally, we discuss about the how to solve problems by using Coulomb's law in 5 steps. So this is the entire description of the Coulomb's law. Thank you.